I really love this trail. It's a great trail. It's very challenging. It kicks my butt every time I go. Depending on which website you read, MTB Project shows it at 521 feet ascent, 532 feet descent. Single Tracks, on the other hand, shows it at 1,200 feet ascent and 1,000 feet descent. So either way, there's a wide gap there. I wouldn't be more inclined to believe Single Tracks just based on how bad it kicks my butt every time I go. So at this part of the video, I got confused. It looks like the trail is going towards the parking lot, but actually it kind of loops around and comes back to where I come out on this little cut through. There are lots of little cut throughs here and there throughout the trail. If you don't frequent the park and ride the trail often, it's very easy to get confused, and I get mixed up a couple times in this video. I believe that I had rode this. This might have been my third time riding this trail. I've rode it a few more times since and finally getting the flow of it. You have the regular XC part of it, which comes out to almost 7 miles. I think it's about 6.5. Then you have the Super D downhill. I have yet to ride it, but it is definitely on my list. For some reason, I'm a glutton for punishment, and I always go for the XC course. And this lady right here, she had no idea I was behind her. I scared the crap out of her. But as far as the length of the trail, I've recorded usually 6 or 6.5 miles. MTB Project shows it at 5 miles, and Single Tracks shows it at 7. So again, there's a little discrepancy between the two websites. I use both of those and kind of, take the average on them, I guess you would say. We got a little climb here. It's not too bad, but something about this trail, it just wears me out. I really can't ride over more than, say, a mile and a half on this trail before I gotta stop because I am just out of gas. I got nothing left. A little squirrel went by me there and by the front tire. But yeah, this trail is just, it's awful on me. I love it, but it just kills me. Now, I haven't been riding very long. At the making of this video, this was late in 2017. I had been riding since April, and I believe this video was recorded in August. I'll have to go back and check on that. But I hadn't been riding very long, maybe 4 or 5 months. So I don't really have the fitness level required for this trail, but I love the downhills. Right here's a little section with some berms in it. I love the speed on this trail. Don't like the climbs. Climbs are terrible on me, but this stuff right here is a blast. A tree right there. Yep, just missed it. But yeah, it's finished a little short downhill and kind of back up on the climb now. And then once I get to the top of this hill, I'll be gone. I go so hard downhill that by the time I start going back up, I'm already out of breath. I'm already struggling now. more downhill action here. There's another long, probably the longest downhill part on the trail is this little section here. And it is fast as you can stand. Coming up on a hard left here. You can run over if you're not careful. Little feature there. Hit this a little too hard and wash out, and throw a foot down. I didn't crash, so that's good. More climbing. Lots and lots of climbing. Sweating, had to wipe the glasses off. Can't decide whether I want to keep them on, take them off. And there's a feature here, but I am just too depleted. I'm just going to plow through it and then lean up against that tree for a minute. And I'm back going again. Took me a little minute break there. And I'm off. Kind of hit another downhill spot. I wouldn't recommend this trail for a beginner. It has several places, like some fast downhill where there'll be a root in a turn and it's washed out behind it, and you might have a 4 or 6 inch drop, something like that. There's a couple large drops around 1 or 2 feet where it's washed out behind the roots. Well, large for me, put it that way. Definitely not something you want to plow through wide open blind. You can kind of get a sense of how much elevation change there is by looking off the right side here. There's a decent little drop. And somehow or another the clutch mechanism had come loose. I hear my chain slapping. There's a drop there, maybe about 10 inches to a foot. There's a real good drop there. Can't really, the GoPro effect kills it, but yeah, it's about a foot and a half. back there to get you a little speed up. And anytime I take my son riding anywhere, I have to drop my seat so I can put both of our bikes on the bike rack. And for whatever reason, I never get my seat back in the right spot. I'm always a little too low or a little too high. I should probably check before I start riding, but this is much steeper than it looks on video. And I think that's the only time I've actually made it through that little spot without putting my foot down. A little more downhill action. You kind of see the ridge off to the side there. Time for some more water. I'm about to spin again. I'm going to try to make it to the top of this hill before I take my break. And that fence, I believe, is the fence. I think there's a water treatment plant to the left there. I believe that's the fence surrounding the treatment plant. I should say hats off to anybody that actually races on this. They hold races here, I believe, yearly. And hats off to anybody that can complete one lap without stopping, let alone multiple laps. I hope one day that I will have the physical ability to do that, but right now it's only a dream. Pointing at a mile marker there, I can't read it on my preview that I'm looking at, but I think I'm upset because it's not the end and I'm out of gas. And coming back from a short break. Got some switchbacks here. This is a pretty tight, fairly tight switchback. Really steep right there. I was actually riding here a month or so ago. Leaves down, and I tried to get some pictures there, and just walking down the hill, you about fall every time because it's so slick. And there was a tree. That is a really odd turn. I went back a couple times since I ran into that little sapling, and there's no berm. You come around that turn, and right where you think you should be is a tree. So I've learned to take it a little slower because it's really awkward turn to get around. Another little feature, rocks piled up there. Good little dip there, and I think there's another one coming up. No, here's that sharp turn. Yeah, there's a real sharp turn. You can get a lot of speed right there. Got more climbing. I'm determined to make it to the top before I stop, but I'm just about spin again. Right here I found another tree to lean on for a minute. And I've caught my breath and I'm taking off again. There's a drop right there. I have never done it because I've always been too tired by the time I got to the top of that hill to do it. And back to climbing. I believe it's this point that I start regretting my decision to go ride this day. I had left work at a reasonable time. It doesn't happen very often. I've been working hard that week, and I want to say it was around 90 degrees or so when I went to ride. And between the rough week, not resting good, not hydrating, I was doing bad this day, real bad. You can see back there, I pretty much came to a stop at the top of the hill because I was debating on whether to take a break or not. And I should note that I am really sorry about the sound quality and all the noise from my mouthpiece slapping the camera. This was my first ever video, so kind of a learning curve. Unfortunately, I sweat so profusely that I have to wear the waterproof case, or have to have the camera in the waterproof case, so it hurts the sound quality. Here, I'm kind of confused again. This is one of the other cut-throughs I was talking about. I think that is actually part of the Super D, where it cuts throughout. The Super D uses portions of the XC trail, and again, it can get a little confusing. Here's the burn section I was thinking about. If you hit it right, it's a lot of fun. Obviously, I didn't hit it right. It's going to plow through the middle. And totally goofed that one up.
I almost made it. Those are the execute here. I hear my chain downshifting and pedaling backwards.
And done me. I take the XC part again.
Actually, I haven't placed it yet.
Time for some agua. Slap the camera a couple times with it. Getting close to another break. I'm trying to pick a good spot to do it. And there's another tree to lean on. This is a pretty flat spot here, and weave through that tree. Try to get a little speed up. The soil starts to change here. It gets real sandy. First part of it has some sand in it, but it's fairly grippy, especially some of the berms. But you can start to see, like right there, that's a really loose turn. And this one, it's not too bad, but see the color of the soil is just completely different. It's one thing I really like about this trail. It changes so much from start to finish. You get a variety of terrain and soil, and even some of the plant life. There's some odd plants that are, got a little air there. Once you get towards the top end of the park, there's some plants. I think I'll point them out in the video, but there's some really random stuff. It's just a nice nice change. You don't see the same thing all the time.
That's fine.
You can see one of the, there are 3 retention ponds total that you'll ride around or near. The first pond is really only about half full. If you pay attention when you go by it, you go by it on your, you kind of circle around. As you come to the end of it, you'll see that the quote-unquote dam on the backside has washed out, and it's only about half as deep as it used to be. And the other 2, they are still full. They're separated by, what would you call it? It's not really a dam, but it's kind of like a dirt walkway across them. Pathway, I guess you might say. And there was another time where I was just completely done and had to stop. I'm sure I will get made fun of for not being able to even ride this trail and without stopping, but considering my history and, you know, at this point maybe 5 months of mountain biking, I feel like I'm doing pretty well. 35 years old. Up until the last year or so, really didn't pay much attention to my health. Ate a lot of junk food. Exercise was walking to the fridge. I didn't really, exercise wasn't a priority at all. So to anybody that wants to make fun of me, go right ahead. I have no problems with it. That little cut through there, I believe, leads back out to the Soapbox Derby track. The trail itself circles around Hobby Park. Hobby Park obviously has a mountain bike trail. They also have a BMX, I guess you would call it a slalom course. Ugh, let's try to say that again, a slalom course. It's got a jump line in it, and yeah, I don't know the technical term for it, but I'll post a video on it later. There's some gap jumps. It's the jump line that comes down through the woods, and then a couple other things. Before I finish talking about Hobby Park, here's another area that's just, you know, kind of confusing. The XE trail actually cuts back up to the right there. This is a cut through. The XE trail cuts out into the grass, goes down, loops around, and comes back right there. I had never rode up through the grass until this trip. I had always come that little cut through and then went down that gully there that was on the left. So right here, we'll go back out, and this is where the XC trail goes. And this will show you a little more of Hobby Park. So Hobby Park obviously has the mountain bike trail. Well, okay, maybe it doesn't. Maybe I try to clean show. Yeah, doesn't really do much, but you have a flying field, runway for the remote control airplanes. There's also a soapbox derby track. I guess you would call it more of a downhill run than a track. And there's also 2 pads for control line planes, which I didn't think were a thing anymore. Maybe this park has got some age on it. I had a control line plane when I was a kid. But there's a little bit of, variety for people. There's some features here. Not brave enough to hit them yet. And that can get pretty fast. That particular run was just hang on for your life rather than really know what I'm doing.
Riding sketchy as hell as normal.
More climbing. I'm rapidly running out of steam. See, I'm starting to wobble a little bit. I'm really just trying to make it to the end this time. Nature made a nice little feature there. Step up on that bridge.
Sketchy but completed.
I'm desperately going to try to make it to the rock at the top of this little climb. This is a nice place to take a break. But as you'll see in just a moment, I don't quite make it. Off on the right there, you can kind of just get a glimpse of the tail end of Little Pisgah. It's a half-mile detour. Basically a big rock garden. And picking back up from the rock at the top of the hill that I couldn't make it to. There was some kind of falling and cussing and walking to get to the rock because I was just spent.
Wearing glasses while I'm riding. What's the word I'm looking for? Depth perception. I try wearing sweating eyes.
You can see the soil and terrain has changed again. It's getting, this area up here is very sandy, very loose soil compared to the first half or 2/3 of the trail. exhausted from the short little climb. I'm trying to catch my breath and
Smells awful.
kind of wishing it was over.
I'm told this place used to be a landfill. And it smells like it right now.
I think at this point in the video I'm talking about how I had heard, I think I had read it on the reviews, maybe on Single Track or MTV Project, that this park was actually made on top of a landfill. It can smell a little rough sometimes, not real bad. The lower wet areas kind of get a little funky sometimes. Now the top of the hill had some decent soil, but when you get back towards the bottom where I was talking about earlier and over towards the other retention ponds that I'll be coming up on soon, it's where it gets real loose and sandy. Just ever changing. It's pretty neat. You go to some other places like Tanglewood, the soil is pretty much consistent the entire time. There's not much change. And the Tanglewood, speaking of Tanglewood, yeah, that's an 8-mile trail total if you ride on both sides of the road from the parking area. I can ride both sides, no problem, not stop. But there's not much elevation change. I'm not sure exactly how much. If I try to look it up, it'll stop my video that's playing. But there is much more elevation change at Hobby Park than Tanglewood. And that's what really gets to me, is the elevation change. Now, I always forget about this. I just barely made it through that time. Last time I rode, I clipped my brand new Originate platform pedals. Little drop there, maybe 6 inches, not much, but some rollers. Now you can see the retention ponds are right next to each other. I guess you really could count it as one. It's particularly wet this day. This area is normally just straight up dust. I mean, just powder almost. Weave through the trees here.
That's good. Straight there.
And so right here, you can go to the right, you can go down to Little Pisgah, which circles back around to the other side of this bridge. There's a little bridge there that basically takes you over the backside of the dam for the pond to the other end of the Little Pisgah Trail. But I chose to go to Little Pisgah, and I have yet to complete this without falling or putting my foot down. So right here, I think I fall. Yep, down I go. And no dropper post, and I'm riding seat up like a dummy. I had to Put my foot down twice crossing this little feature. And that was it. I was able to stay standing there. It's sloppy. It's not pretty. But I made it through. And that's what matters.
It's flowing a lot more than last time I was here. Biggest rain since then. So, made it through.
And that water is a little funky, so if you ride the area, try to go through the water slow so you don't get it all over you.
It's my first video recorded. I feel really stupid talking to myself.
Little miniature rock garden there.
Hopefully, nobody's out here pressing me and laughing at me around the corner. Look, we're climbing. If you see rain falling in front of the camera, it's not, it's just me sweating.
Back to the awful climbing.
Sweat profusely.
It's really not that steep of an area. I'm just so tired by this point. It's pretty miserable.
Water's great, but it don't breathe well.
I had to stop and get some water, rest for a second. I had been cutting off the video, but I guess I was just too tired to do that.
Still working on my body positioning. All of my internal fitness level as far as that's concerned. Topic for another day. Somebody puts an obstacle at the top of the hill, but no, why not?
At this point, I'm thinking, who in the heck puts a feature right here, but I'm going to ride it anyway.
Very quiet today. This past Sunday. See if I find the gas.
There's another feature, but I'm going to skip that one.
It's loud. Not another one.
Okay, right here to the left, you can see a little trail, and that was the... I really love the shot coming up here. Did you see this before I start talking again? Right by the lake there. I love that little spot. Coming right up to the water. The trail that was cutting across back there was the other side of the dam that I was talking about, where you cross a little bridge and it takes you back over to the other side of the trail. And it also goes out to the flying field. It's another exit point. I took a friend from work. I just showed another cut through that I haven't explored yet. I took a friend from work here one time, and he was riding my spare hardtail, my first mountain bike. And he was done pretty much after we started. I mean, we rode down the parking lot back and he was ready to go, but we rode 5 miles, and that's kind of the cutout point for the 5-mile marker. So we abandoned ship there and went home for the day.
too wide. So like you end up with too much weight on the front wheel. I just got my arms spread out so far. Can be leaning forward.
Bombing over the downhill section. And here's the land bridge, if you will, between the two ponds.
I like them pretty good.
The one to the right,
I kind of wish they were wider.
it's almost a mud hole. I don't know how deep it is, but it doesn't look that deep. The one to the left is probably twice the size. And again, I don't know how deep it is, but it looks more like a pond. The one on the right here is just kind of, I don't know, it's really small.
60 would make a big difference. I guess it'd be kind of like that. A good compromise between 740 and 780. I reckon. Hell no. I found them very particular. Frame size and steel length, general body positioning. I say my back is very particular and what it likes and what it don't.
There's another cut through. I have no idea where it goes.
This bike came with a
Usually when I go to Hobby Park, it's
rear stem.
ends up being during the week,
And after
and I view it more as a grueling exercise ride rather than just out having fun.
my back was killing me.
And I just tend to punish myself every time I go. One of these days, I'm going to go with the intent of just enjoying my ride and exploring all these little cut-throughs and seeing where they go. You know, see if I've missed anything. And ride the super downhill. Right here, that was really ugly,
No rise. Overall,
but I didn't crash.
the back is happy.
That's a pretty good little jump.
Although
If you hit it right, it would be a lot of fun.
afterwards, that lost it. The day before, I had spent 10 hours detailing the car.
Got a little loose there.
That might have
Slid,
contributed.
front tire slid out a little bit.
I think I got the second wind.
You got this really hard, short little climb here. And then at the very top, there's a feature. I don't get it. You've been punished enough,
Plant
but
suckers.
they want you to punish yourself just a little more there.
Here in the middle of the woods.
And here's some of the weird
The sense of a different
plants that just kind of randomly pop up out of nowhere.
There's some cactus over there in the video.
Looks like somebody,
You got
took some old houseplants and just dumped them out in the woods. But it's kind of cool with, different scenery. Instead of just leaves, trees, dirt. Kind of stimulates your mind a little bit.
Yeah, don't be hating on my Harbor Freight riding gloves. You'll see it says Hardy or Handy or something.
And here I'm talking about my gloves. I spent a,
I'm not swimming in
well,
the
I'm not going to say I spent a lot of money.
so
The bike that I'm riding,
tires that you
the Hawk Hill, is pretty much a brand new bike in this video. I think this might have been my second or third ride on it, maybe. It's 2017 Marin Hawk Hill. Love the bike. It's absolutely fantastic. It was the best bang for the buck I could find. I don't have the kind of funds to spend $5 grand on a bike. I'm not sure I ever would if I did have the funds. But my bike is quality. My riding gear and everything else is on the cheaper side. Because, I got to put my priorities somewhere. So the gloves, I was talking about them, they're just, there's a little feature. The gloves are just some cheap gloves from Harbor Freight. I think they were like $5. They're Hardy brand gloves. They stick really good to grips, especially locking grips that don't have the best grip on them. Or my other bike has some Originate grips, and they're not sticky. They're not like a gum grip. They're a rubber grip, and those gloves grip great on them. I have since upgraded to genuine riding gloves, and I still like them. They're good gloves. If you don't have a lot of money to spend, Harbor Freight, $5. They got like a rubber coated palm, and the back is mesh. They breathe really well. I definitely recommend those if you're on a budget. And up here, you're getting ready to pop out into the flying field. There's actually a sign, I think it was that white sign on the tree back there that says watch for low flying planes. A little circle to the right, that is the control line area that I was talking about, the control line planes. And I believe I just kind of tried to show something in the woods. There's a old car, like a 50-something car sitting in the woods to the left back there. It's pretty cool. You can kind of see the last jump on the downhill slalom / jump line / pump track, depending on who you ask. You see a little bit of it off to the right there. Every jump except for 2 on that course are all gap jumps, and gap jumps scare the crap out of me. I have yet to clear any of those jumps, and not sure I want to attempt to. See some of the foliage starting to change. Soil's changed again. It's a lot. This is the almost the best way to put it, the most sandy part of the area. You see I'm sweating pretty hard. And no, hit a pedal.
leg will hate me tomorrow.
I don't know how I managed to do it.
Yep, walking for a minute.
Right here, my foot slipped off,
Pedals.
and I just bashed my shin with my pedal.
There, gusset.
Did not feel good at all.
And the one complaint in the reviews is the studs are not long enough. And my shin agrees.
And I'm talking about my pedals. These are Gusset brand pedals. Fantastic pedals. They're heavy, they're thick, they're probably indestructible. But the studs that come with them are pretty short, which are good and bad.
Well, that's gonna leave a mark.
The good thing about them having the short studs is it's easy to pull a foot off and, dab if you lose, say your front tire washes out in a turn. You can throw a foot down real quick and just keep on trucking.
Oh my goodness, my leg hurts bad.
The bad side is your foot can slip off of them. I think what happened there was when I went to pedal, my foot slipped and actually slid back far enough to
Crazy terrain.
roll the pedal out from under my foot.
Well, where that goes. See if we can turn around here. There.
And right here's another little cut through. I have no idea where it goes. The trail doesn't go back that way. I haven't been brave enough to go back there. And I'm talking about my shoes. Again, going low budget for riding gear. Part of the reason I bashed my shin is because those shoes don't have the best grip on the bottom. But
Up there.
I just don't have the money for a $100 pair of free riders or whatever they are. The 510 free riders, I think they're $100, $120. Love to get them.
I've never done that with these pedals.
But these are some old $30 Globe skate shoes that I picked up off Amazon.
Going back to
And for the most part, other than that one day in my shin, they serve their purpose just fine. I'm still riding in them. I have upgraded my pedals to something that grip a little better.
foot over.
But yeah, here I'm complaining about the middle of them. They have rubber on the front and back, but it's foam in the middle.
No grip
So
on the
that's
bottom.
probably what caused the pedals, my feet to slip off the pedals.
I felt like it was better to buy a new bike. That way. Under the shoes. My shin disagree. We're on the home stretch.
I'm coming up on the final leg of the trail here. You just barely catch a glimpse of, I think it's Clemensville Road that it's on. This trail kind of zigzags back and forth, parallel to the road.
Another example of the extremely different terrain. And you may hear the traffic out here on the main road. This is fun, but I ain't doing it today. I ain't got it in me. I think I went down there last time. Can't remember.
There's two or three different lines you can go off that rock, and then there's two places you can go over here. There's kind of like an easy, medium, and hard, and I took the easiest route. That was just all I was up for that day. Just plowed through the middle. I wish I had thought to get a good still shot at the bottom, but it's pretty steep. I really felt like the trail had defeated me this day, and there's a cutout to the parking lot. You can go out that direction. You can go right to circle back around and hit that rock feature again. Or, I don't know if this is the official end of the trail or if the trail ends to the left over there. So many little cut throughs, and it's just, I don't know, it's hard to keep up with. But I feel like the original trail might have went on down through this way, since it seems to be the most worn part of it, and then the jump line goes down that direction. But I'm gonna go this way. This is where I think the trail is supposed to go. Kind of a drop there that I wasn't expecting, so I'm just gonna walk down that more or less. Little drop there. And that's it. That's the end of the trail. Hope you enjoyed. Like, comment, and subscribe.